Hey guys, Pete here. Alright, this is going to be my recap and review for Part 9 of Twin Peaks Season 3, The Return. If you haven't watched Part 9, this is your spoiler warning because it will cover everything that happens and spoil the episode for you. However, I do have a ton of other Twin Peaks videos that you can watch, so click on the link at the top and check those out rather than just clicking away. So yeah, I had kind of gotten into the pattern of doing a top moments video and then doing the recap and review, but this week I have to switch it up because I got a travel day tomorrow. And it was a tough decision because there were some moments that I really wanted to talk about in that context, but if I don't do this one now, I probably won't get it done until the day after tomorrow, and that'll just mess things up because no one will watch it. Don't forget there is a timestamp link in the description so you can skip the scene by scene if you want to and just get into the discussion, and let's jump into it. So it starts off with Evil Coop walking. We can see that this is directly after his run-in with Ray because he still has blood all over his shirt and whatnot. He finds a red bandana tied to a post, so we figure he arrived where he was trying to go. Then we see Gordon flying, looking out the window in the airplane. Tammy brings him the phone and he talks to Colonel Davis. This was the call about Briggs's body being in Buckhorn, so they decide that they will go there, and Colonel Davis tells them to meet up with Lieutenant Cynthia Knox at the Buckhorn PD. We go back and we see Evil Coop walk up and he meets Tim Roth, who is playing Hutch, we find out. Remember, we heard about him back in part 2, and Chantel is there, Jennifer Jason Leigh's character, and he tells them that he needs 2 clean phones and a gun. And then Chantel gets ready to clean him up, and we see that he does have the bullet shot wounds right there. Back on the plane, Gordon asks Diane if she'd mind going to Buckhorn on the way back home. She says fuck you at first, but once he mentions that it might be of interest to her because of Cooper, she says Blue Rose case and asks for some more booze as a way of accepting that she'll go along. Tammy gets another call, this time from Warden Murphy, and he tells Gordon that Evil Coop has escaped. Evil Coop has the new phone and he sends a message that says, "Around the dinner table, conversation is lively." He then calls Mr. Todd and asks if he's done it yet, referring to taking out Dougie Coop, and Mr. Todd says no, to which Evil Coop says that he better have it done the next time they talk. Back in his office, Todd looks worried and calls in his assistant. And I don't know about anybody else, but I love this actor. I love the way that he plays this character. I mean, he looks nervous all the time. Back at the, hideout, I guess you could say, or meeting point, Evil Cooper gets what I imagine is a bag of weapons. He also has some, like an ammunition case there, and he gets a kick-ass looking truck. And I don't know about anybody else, but I saw this in the periphery there, and I was like, this is going to be the new Evil Coop mobile. But yeah, he gets some weapons and ammo from Hutch, and he tells them to kill the Warden Murphy, within the next 2 days. And he says he doesn't care if it's at home, at work, on the way. Hutch asks him if he wants Chantel to play with him first, and she says, "I'll make him sing." And he basically says he doesn't care, just take care of him, and then he'll have a double header for them in Las Vegas. Hutch tells her to give the boss a wet one before he goes, and they have a pretty intense kiss goodbye. And then he tosses his phone and tells Hutch to take care of it, which he does with a shotgun, and a pretty impressive move. I mean, he shoots it on the ground a little bit away. We then go over to Las Vegas, and we see that Bushnell is being questioned by the cops while Dougie and Janey-E are waiting outside. We find out some interesting info here about Dougie Jones. Find out he's been working for Bushnell for about 12 years and that he was involved in a car accident just before he started at Lucky 7. Bushnell says that he sometimes has lingering effects related to that. But he says Dougie's a good employee, slow and steady. After he walks out of the room, another cop pulls out a file, and we find out that Dougie has no records before 1997. No birth certificate, passport, nothing. The cops think it might be that he's in witness protection, and one asks the other if he still has that friend somewhere in the government, and they go that direction. On the way out, Bushnell tells Dougie he can have the rest of the day off. Dougie Coop, I should say here. Janey-E says that's good. She'll take him to the doctors. And he says that they need to get working to find some answers the next day. The cops are kind of wondering if they should even bother interviewing Dougie Coop again. They said he doesn't really say much and sort of like interviewing a dog, and that his wife does all the barking. So they bring a new cup of coffee so that they can take the old one and get his prints and DNA off the first cup. We also find out here when they come back that they were able to lift Ike the Spike's prints off the palm, which isn't very surprising since they had the actual palm. And they decide to switch gears and go look into that. Before they leave, they tell the Prince guy to send the Joneses home, but he has to do his job first, so we don't actually see them leave. Instead, we see Dougie Coop sitting there looking at the flag. We can hear America the Beautiful playing in the background. A woman comes in and walks by wearing red shoes, and those catch his attention. After she passes, he focuses in on the electrical outlet as his eyes pan back across the room. So we leave him there staring at the electrical outlet. It's an interesting little scene because it gives us a little bit of insight into what's going on with Dougie Coop. I mean, we don't really know what's going on, but we hear the music to see he's responding to the flag. We see that he responds to her. He's not just brain dead. I mean, that's what I took away from it. Back at his motel, Ike the Spike is on the phone. He's leaving a message for JT. The message is no cigar, taking medical leave, and then he takes a drink. We see the cops arrive outside and are able to apprehend Ike when he tries to leave without much of an incident. They have both ends blocked, and they remind him that they have his palm print. In fact, that they have his palm, and that's that. He just sort of surrenders. At the Twin Peaks Sheriff Department, Andy and Lucy are there. They're looking at chairs online. It's a funny back and forth. It's not too stretched out. It's pretty well acted. It's kind of fun all the way around, I would say. She walks back and tells him that she really loves the beige chair. He says he wants the red, but then he sits for a moment, comes back up and says she can get the one that she wants, and then she goes ahead and buys the red one anyways. Then we have a pretty mysterious and strange scene where we hear this woman's voice asking who let him out. Then she starts calling for Johnny, and we see someone running through the house. Johnny crashes into a wall and ends up on the floor with a photo of a waterfall next to him. He's obviously bleeding, there's blood on the wall, and the woman comes over, but we don't actually get to see who she is. Then we get a surprise appearance from Ms. Briggs, or Mrs. Briggs, and Bobby has come to visit, and he says that him and the guys need to ask her some questions. She tells them that she already knew they'd be coming at some point. Major Briggs had actually prepared her for it, told her that it would happen. She says that she has something for them, and takes them to the living room. She says this is the chair, and then pops out what looks like a little metal cylinder. She gives it to them after telling Bobby that his father always knew his life would turn out okay, and then they go to the kitchen to have coffee. It was a really exciting reveal there, and one of many that are going to be related to Major Briggs throughout this episode. Gordon, Albert, Tammy, and Diane arrive at the morgue in Buckhorn. Diane lights up a cigarette right in the waiting room there. Of course, the detective says, hey, you can't smoke here, and she says it's a fucking morgue, and it's another great Diane moment. So she stays there, the others leave the room, and she checks her phone. We saw her look at the phone on the plane, but it was locked, so there was some anticipation built up, I guess, for she was trying to get a hold of someone. But we find out that it was actually Evil Coop, that message that he sent about around the dinner table conversation is lively, was actually sent to Diane. As the rest of the FBI bunch is going down the hall, we listen as they get filled in, and we learn that Hastings' lawyer has been arrested for his wife's murder, and that his secretary was killed when her car blew up. Albert drops some Albert love here when he says, what happens in season 2 to the detective? When they view the body, the detective tells us about William Hastings' blog. That him and Ruth were researching an alternate dimension, and then Albert reads his last post. Today we finally entered what we called the zone, and we met the Major. Albert and Cole go out in the hall to think out loud, and it runs down like this. Albert mentions that it's the body of a 40-year-old. They thought Briggs died 25 years ago in the government facility in the fire. The body was 25 years off as far as age goes. Cooper knew Briggs. Cooper showed up in this neck of the woods at the same time, and now Cooper is on the loose in this neck of the woods. The coroner shows them Dougie Jones's ring that she found inside the body. Her and Albert get along smashingly, and they have a little back and forth about marbles. Then Cole says they need to see and talk to William Hastings. We get ourselves a little Jerry moment. He's in the woods, still wearing the same clothes we saw him in the last time we saw him. It appears his foot is talking to him, and it says that it is not his foot. He looks amazingly high, and eventually he attacks the foot and tells it to go away. We have an Officer Chad sighting in the conference room where he's eating. He makes, sort of a big deal in a passive way about being asked to leave and following the rule that there's no eating in the conference room. Frank pulls out the cylinder from Major Briggs and they look at it, and Bobby tells them he knows how to open it since his dad brought one of those home before. But they have to go back outside to do so. They go out, he throws it down against the pavement, it starts making a noise, and when it stops, he throws it down again. This time when he picks it back up, he's able to open. Frank pulls out what turns out to be 2 pieces of paper rolled up inside. One has the 2 peaks printed on it with what looks like a red sun and a moon above each one of them, and then the symbol that was on Evil Coop's ace. It says 253 yards east of Jackrabbit's Palace, has the time 2:53 and 2 dates, 10-1 and 10-2 on it. We find out those are 2 days from when they actually got those pieces of paper. It says to put some dirt in your pockets before leaving Jackrabbit's place from that area. So it seems a little cryptic, but Bobby knows where to go because this is a place that he went to with his dad as a kid, and he's actually the person that named it Jackrabbit's Palace. The second piece of paper is one of those printouts from Listening Post Alpha that we saw way back, and it says Cooper twice on it. As they look at it, Hawk points out that it's a reference to 2 Coopers. Gordon and Tammy join Diane outside while she smokes, which is one of my favorite moments. Gordon is awesome, and I'm not going to go deeply into that now since it's recap and review, but that was a great scene. Inside, they see Bill Hastings. Tammy asks if he's the author of the blog, The Search for the Zone. He admits that he is. She says something about alternate reality, and he says different dimension, but that it's all real. Now, there was a whole lot of information packed into this little conversation, like a lot. But the gist of the whole thing is that him and Ruth Davenport, who was the head that was connected with the body, the headless body of Major Briggs in the crime scene in the very beginning, he says she was good at finding documents. So she found some information that made them think if they went to a certain place at a certain time, something might happen. So they go, and this was a while back, 2 weeks or so, and that's where they met Major Briggs. We know it was Major Briggs because he identifies him in a lineup that she shows him on on one of those cards. So Major Briggs had been hiding or hibernating, and he needed them to get some coordinates from him from a secret military file. They came back the Thursday prior to this, interview and gave him those. And then things get a little bit unclear as to what actually happened. But we know that Ruth died. Someone pushed him on the ground and asked him what his wife's name was. But we don't find out who they are. We find out that they gave the numbers to Briggs. He started to float. He said, "Cooper, Cooper," before his head disappeared. Bill thought this was beautiful and amazing and something he'd never seen or heard of before, but then he realized Ruth was dead and it was horrible. After that, after he held her, he woke up in his home. After that, we get the idea that Bill is pretty much having a psychological break. Prison isn't doing him very well, I would say, and the events that led to him being there are not adding up. Albert points this out by saying fruitcake anyone, and then we cut back to Twin Peaks. There we see Ben and Beverly are still investigating the noise that's inside Ben's office. In the process of that, they almost embrace. And then out of nowhere, Ben says that he can't do this, which was a surprising turn, I think. But besides that, they don't get down to what the noise is, and then we go to the roadhouse. There we meet two characters we haven't met yet. They look a little rough for the wear, especially the blonde. She talks about losing her job at the place serving burgers, and she talks about a wicked rash she has, and we see that it's pretty serious. When the brunette sits down, she asks if she knew that the zebra's out again. And then at the end, the blonde says, "Have you seen that penguin?" Other than that, I really don't know what's going on with these two. After their conversation, we get a musical outro, and the episode ends. Alright, so if you skip the scene by scene, welcome to the video. This is the conversation part, and man, a lot of stuff happened. It was sort of like episode 7 in a way, where a lot of things went forward. I think one of the big things that I'm excited about is that they have Cooper's prince, Agent Dale Cooper's prince will emerge out of that cup of coffee that he touched. We also know that Janey-E is planning on taking him to the doctor. So Dougie Coop's storyline is definitely moving forward. Ike the Spike is apprehended, which should make for some interesting situations when Evil Coop told Hutch and Chantel that there was going to be a doubleheader in Las Vegas. So that could mean that Ike is on the chopping block, or it could be that Mr. Todd and Ike are on the chopping block, or alternately, it could be that he's still after Dougie Coop and Ike the Spike. So definitely some drama to unfold there. The Major Briggs stuff was just absolutely awesome. I mean, I've said it many times before that he's one of my favorite characters in the original run, and he's playing a huge role even though the actor passed away. The idea that he set this stuff up in advance is very interesting. Think about the fact that he took Bobby to a place that he used later on as a point for them to go to, and he showed him how to open this cylinder with full confidence that when the cylinder was found, Bobby would be there. So yeah, it's really interesting, and the pieces of paper inside are also very interesting. I guess in 2 days' time, in Twin Peaks time, we'll find out what's going on there. It definitely seems like it's probably some sort of portal or something along those lines. The number 253 comes up twice there. The time is 2:53, and the distance from Jackrabbit's Palace to the meeting point is 253 yards, which is the number that we heard the Arms Evolution say, and the time when the switch happened between the real Agent Cooper and Dougie Jones. There's also that. There's also the fact that the ring is now on the map. So not only is Cooper's prince going in, but they're also going to have this lead on Dougie Jones and Janey-E based on the fact that that ring shouldn't be that hard to track. I mean, if nothing else, it's going to be a piece of the puzzle for them to realize that these two characters are important. And then we have the Bill Hastings stuff. I mean, we have big information dump there with his blog. The fact that he was researching alternate dimensions, and that through his research that him and Ruth were able to find Major Briggs. I mean, that's all really big stuff there. And we know that Evil Coop is looking for numbers that Ray obtained from his secretary who was blown up. We found that out, that she had been blown up. So we have to imagine that this is another place where Evil Coop wants to find, but what's going to actually happen there, I couldn't tell you. I mean, we know he's looking for what might be the experiment, the mother, or maybe it's something else entirely. Who knows? Just a lot of good stuff happened in this episode. I mean, the show keeps surprising me in the way that it keeps us interested by, you just really have no idea what's going to happen. The title, This Is the Chair, came out a little bit beforehand, and I was wondering what it would be. And I will wager that no one in the entire world figured out that that would be related to Major Briggs' wife and a chair where she's been hiding a metal cylinder for the last 25 years. So yeah, some new characters as well. Hutch is on the scene. We find out who Tim Roth is playing. Got a couple more characters at the Roadhouse, which I'm sure will play some part going forward. And now I'm interested to hear what you guys think. A lot of revelations. Gordon, Albert, and Diane were all fantastic. Again, I hope that part never ends. I hope that they're involved all the way through. Tammy, I thought, had a pretty good performance in this episode. And Bill Hastings, his scene, I mean, the actor really destroyed that. I mean, it was really good. So, enjoyable episode. Can't wait for more. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel, And thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.